I'm Anya Cooper's-McKinnon. Welcome to the programme. Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz is in Kyiv for his second trip to Ukraine since the Russian invasion. Now, Scholz has announced a new €650 million arms package for Ukraine and says Germany will remain its strongest supporter in Europe. Backing from the US, Kyiv's biggest military supplier has been thrown into doubt by Donald Trump's return to the White House in January. DW's Max Zander joins us now from the Ukrainian capital. He was at a press conference given by the German and Ukrainian leaders just a short while ago. Max, what did Zelensky and Scholz have to say at that press conference?
Right, so this was in fact the first bilateral visit of Chancellor Scholz to Ukraine since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. And Olaf Scholz took the opportunity to emphasize again and again how much Germany has been doing, how much Germany has been helping Ukraine ever since the start of the war. And in fact, Germany is the second largest donor of military aid. It has provided and promised about 28 billion euros ever since the beginning of the full-scale invasion. And he came with a message that Germany still stands in solidarity with Ukraine and will promise that Germany would stand by Ukraine in the future. And this is a remarkable comment, given that the German Chancellor is is dealing with a government crisis back home in Germany. It's not yet clear if he will be part of the next German government. So it's not clear that he is even in the position to make these kind of promises. President Zelensky of Ukraine took the opportunity to talk about what the situation in the cities is here at the moment with nightly deadly air attacks all across the country. Thank Germany for how much they have been doing in providing advanced air defense weapons such as the Iris-T or the Gepard or the Patriot made by the United States. He said they talked a little bit more about how to bolster air defense, something that is necessary these days in Ukraine as well. And he also emphasized that even though the Western allies have been helping Ukraine a lot, it's still a drop in the ocean in a sense that it is not enough to turn the tables to win the war, and much more has to be done. In fact, he used the words that peace can only be reached through weapons and diplomacy, hinting at calls for negotiations, that Ukraine will actually need a strong negotiating position in order to end this war and would need the help of its allies to do so.
So Zelensky said it is not enough. Did he get what he wants from Scholz, or what he was expecting, or was he making clear that he wanted more?
I don't think the Ukrainians got what they wanted. The Ukrainians get a lot of assurances by their Western partners, but rarely do they get proper guarantees. What Zelensky has been talking about the last couple of days, time and time again, is that Ukraine has to be part of the EU, Ukraine has to be part of NATO in order to live in safety from Russia, even after peace can be achieved, and that Ukraine needs a strong negotiating position in order to achieve that. One particular item that was also talked about today was a weapon system, the Taurus cruise missile. We've talked about it time and time again. This is something that the German Chancellor today again said he would not be willing to provide. The Ukrainians are still wanting this. Zelensky even today said that if we had had this system in the past, it could have made a difference on the battlefield. German Chancellor Scholz also talked about the €650 million aid package that is yet to be delivered this December. This is nothing new, though. This is part of the larger package that had already been announced back in October. So for the Ukrainians, there was not much to gain from this visit, and for Scholz, potentially, this was one stop on his campaign trail.
DW's Max Zander reporting from Kyiv. Max, thank you.
Here's more of the German Chancellor's statement.
My visit to Kyiv today made one thing very clear to me. Ukraine will prevail. Dear Volodymyr, our hearts, the hearts of your European family, are with you. Glory to Ukraine.
Well, in turn, President Zelensky stressed the need for Germany's Taurus cruise missiles to bolster his country's defences against Russia, which Berlin has repeatedly opposed.
The Taurus issue, of course, you know, Olaf and I have a lot of common views on some issues, and we have different views on some issues. And we are constantly working to make sure that we have more common ground on the Taurus issue. And this is a challenge for us.
Domitilla Sagramoso is a security expert from King's College London who specialises on the post-Soviet space. Welcome back to DW. How much difference do you think this latest package of German military support is likely to make on the battlefield?
I think it is always welcome, and I think it is very important to have additional military support. A lot will depend on what is in this package. At the moment, Ukraine needs, as always, additional ammunition, artillery, and of course, ideally would need long-range missiles, which we know Germany is probably not going to provide at the moment. But I think there is evidence that apparently this package also includes Iris air defense system, so that could be very helpful for protecting some of the strategic assets of Ukraine and also potentially its energy infrastructure, and that would allow it also, to free some assets and protect the front lines. I think there is also evidence that Leopard tanks might be provided, and those could be also helpful on the front lines. But on and in itself, all this support, however welcoming it may be, it's not going to be really the game changer. We need massive long-term support for Ukraine to feel that it can really make a difference on the battlefield.
Lots of questions about it. One of the criticisms Germany has suffered from is that it makes an announcement, we're going to give you all these billions, these millions in aid, and there's been a criticism that there is then a lag between announcements and the stuff actually arriving.
Yeah, I think that always happens. But if we look at the numbers that have been provided, for example, by the Kiel Institute, Germany has been one of the most significant providers of military aid to Ukraine. It has provided around 10 billion euros since the start of the war. That's quite significant. Second to the United States, which of course has provided a lot more. And when we look in terms of promise and delivery, Germany is not doing so badly. So yes, it takes time, and sometimes a lot is promised and it doesn't arrive. But Germany has been quite effective so far when compared to other countries in Europe who have promised more and delivered a lot less. So I think that Germany in that respect is not sort of the bad pupil in the class.
Right.
I think the real issue is around what kind of weapons Germany would be delivering.
Another question, Mark, is whether this promise will survive a change of government here in Berlin as the German government falls apart.
I think that, I'm not an expert on German politics, but it seems that there is a chance that the CDU, the Christian Democrats, might be leading in the polls, and potentially its leader, Merz, could be the new chancellor. And he's been a very strong supporter of, providing military aid to Ukraine, including the Taurus missiles. So I think there is a high chance that if he becomes the new chancellor, that he, might continue and accelerate this support. And what is also interesting is, the defense minister, the current defense minister, is also very supportive. So if we find ourselves in a situation where there is a sort of a grand coalition, as happened during the times of Angela Merkel, then I think we can see this support being sustained. So I'm not so worried. I wouldn't be so worried about that. I think that the general problem is what would the United States do, and would they provide continued support? Because at the moment in Europe, we're not able really to cover for what the Americans are providing in terms of in terms of intelligence.
I did want to ask you about that. If the US suspends its aid to Ukraine next year, do you see European countries led by Germany being able to fill the vacuum?
Only partly. I think there is a lot that Europeans can do, and if they had prepared themselves a couple of years ago when the war broke out, we could have been in a much better position and ready, to provide help to Ukraine more substantially. I think we are doing efforts around ammunition provision and artillery, but there is still issues around, overall intelligence and overall support that the Americans are providing, which at the moment we really do not have. And this kind of intelligence is essential to operate on the battlefield. And so I think we'll have to work in that respect and ensure that at European level, we streamline our production, we introduce economies of scale, we specialize our production, and we don't kind of repeat our production sort of lines, because at the moment, Europe still tends to operate at national level. We have within the EU, different kind of small, 27 pentagons, as the Economist has noted. Okay. And so, what is really important now is a new Commissioner for Defense, how he's going to make sure that we have a more European procurement system and a sort of a streamlined mechanism, which could potentially work for Ukraine.
Thanks for talking us through that so clearly, Domitilla Sagramoso from King's College, London.
Thanks.
Now, the German Chancellor has faced some serious criticism from Kyiv in the past. I asked DW's chief political editor, Michaela Küfner, what common ground there is between Olaf Scholz and President Zelensky.
There is and there isn't. There is in terms of Germany staying and remaining Ukraine's second largest supporter after the United States, and therefore the most important partner here in Europe. But there are differences on the approach, and that clearly came to a head when Olaf Scholz spoke to Vladimir Putin on the phone, and Volodymyr Zelensky really pushed back and felt it was not a constructive thing to do. Of course, a lot of nervousness in Ukraine over what a Trump 2 presidency will bring, and at the same time, Olaf Scholz saw this as proof. He felt it was proof that he was the Chancellor who kept the channels open and who is the Chancellor of peace. That's how he is portraying himself here in Germany in the run-up to those snap elections in February. And there's a feeling in Ukraine that Ukraine may be paying the price to a certain degree. Certainly there was an unprecedented attack shortly after that telephone conversation. There was praise out of Moscow, and there was a destruction of yet more infrastructure, particularly energy infrastructure in Ukraine. So that's where the two sides differ. At the same time, Olaf Scholz has pledged time and time again that Germany will stay at Ukraine's side for as long as it takes. But really what Kyiv would like to hear is whatever it takes, and that won't happen, certainly not with a Chancellor Olaf Scholz here in Germany.
Olaf Scholz is, however, bringing 650 million euros worth of arms, an arms package to Kyiv with him. Can you tell us more about this package that Scholz says Germany will deliver to Ukraine this month?
Yes, the amount that was mentioned is not new. It's part of a 1.4 billion package that was decided upon in Germany in October. But what is new is that Germany's been able to speed up the production and the delivery of weapon systems like the IRIS-T air defense system, a package of drones, both reconnaissance drones but also attack drones. So that's something Germany is proud to be able to deliver as Ukraine heads into this winter. So no new funding there. And again, a very symbolic pledge of support just after we saw the new EU foreign policy representative, Kaja Kallas, and the new president of the European Council also in Kyiv. So this mixes the symbolism with some military hardware to back it up.
DW's chief political editor, Michaela Küfner. Thank you so much.